Hi there. Thank you all for coming. I'd like to have a big thank you for Fred and Jan Taboom. Their passion and energy for this project is unbelievable. We had a little bit of a rocky road carving this. We all had our opinions on what we should do, but I think in the end, we worked it all right out. Right, Fred?
Yes.
This was a very emotional undertaking for me. So forgive me if I show a little bit of that emotion. I have a real passion for what I do. I love everything stone. I love to carve stone. And normally when I carve, I'm thinking of the person that I'm carving it for, if it's a commission. And I try to put that passion and a little bit of my soul into the carving. This sculpture was completely different for me. I had to generate the feelings, the sadness, the hopelessness of a million souls, over a million souls. So to put that into the sculpture, there are many days that when I was carving and just looking at her, and I would break down in tears. A very emotional project. I tried to carve, I did carve tears. You can tell if you go close, you can feel the tears on her cheeks. But when Fred, he first emailed me, and he had seen me on Chronicle, and he had sent me a message asking if I was interested in taking on this project. I was very excited about it. I knew a bit about the Holocaust, not in the detail that I came to find out as I researched it. But I was working on a project up on Lake Wentworth, and I was driving home that night in my truck, and I was thinking, I hadn't even spoken to Fred yet, so I was thinking about our conversation. And as I was driving along, this vision just overwhelmed me. And it was a vision of thousands of children with their arms outstretched. And there was a little girl she was at the front. So I called Fred, and we hadn't spoken, and he told me about how he found me. And I told him about my vision. And I said that I thought that we should dedicate this to the child victims. And that, I didn't know that is what Fred wanted to do. He had told me just a victim sculpture. So that was the one thing that Fred and I were in agreement on. So he wanted me to do a few sketches. And so I did a couple of concepts, some sketches. I'm not a great artist as far as drawing. I have a friend, Marlena Hewitt, who's here somewhere over there. And I asked her to do a couple of concept drawings for me. And so she sent me back within an hour or two a couple of drawings. This was one of her drawings right here, which she turned into a painting, which I think is beautiful. And at one time we had planned on doing a little girl with silhouettes in the back. But we ended up not going with that. We didn't have enough room, although the piece of granite is very large. So Jan and Fred and I, we decided to focus on the photograph over here and the little girl, which we all thought was appropriate. It's difficult to try to replicate a photograph. So I had to just interpret it the way that I felt. And this is what I came up with. She had a white jacket. The granite I work with is Belial Quarry out of Hooksett, New Hampshire. And they're back here is Roger and Brian, Amy and Claire, who let me carve at their shop. This stone weighed probably 8 tons when it came out of the quarry, right, Roger? So they pulled this out of the ground. We had Fred and Jan come up to the quarry and look it over. Actually, the first stone we pulled out was about the same size, but it had a seam through it, so we couldn't use it. So we chose this stone. It was a process. It's so heavy to get it down to the shop. Roger and Brian, I wanted it cut so we could do some sort of arch. So Roger and Brian, they cut the outside shape, and then I hand chiseled this whole border around and created almost, well, Fred calls it a portal. It is somewhat like a portal with a little girl coming through. After I carved it, why I chose this stone, first of all, it's from New Hampshire. I get almost all of my stone from Belial Quarry. It's heaven to me going up into that quarry. I love it there. It's so peaceful. And the stone, the interesting thing about the stone is that this is the color of it coming out of the surface. That's the surface rock. And that's probably a close indication of the stone, the color. But if you put a flame through it, to it, or a torch, it'll change color. And it'll give off this reddish hue. So I wanted to have that glow around the little girl. So after I reliefed all of this out and roughly shaped the girl, Brian Belial put a torch to it and flamed the entire stone, which is the reason it's this color, which I think is stunning and goes with the sculpture. Afterwards, I mean, this has been going on. Fred contacted me on September 30th, so it's been quite a project. What I like about the stone, I like the massiveness of it, the size of it. It probably weighs about close to 5 tons now. So we had difficulty in getting a truck that could deliver it and set it up for us. Fred and I talked about this for weeks, about how we're going to get the truck here, how we're going to schedule it, make sure I was putting the stainless steel pins in, which wasn't easy, was it, Fred? And the foundation, the footing, yeah. The footing is 8 by 5 by almost 5 feet deep.
Wow.
So as Fred says, it'll withstand an earthquake. That's about it. I put a lot of hours into this. You can see when you come up and touch it, you can feel the tears right here. The hair has a little bit of color to it. This part I tried to keep white by sanding it. If you sand it, the granite will stay a whiter color. So I tried to keep it as close as possible to the photograph. But that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fred wants me to address the engraving. We were going to put silhouettes behind the little girl. And then Fred and his son came up with the idea of doing an appropriate engraving into the stone. So we had Marblehead Monument came up from Marblehead. And it's not easy doing an engraving like this, especially in a stone this shape. If you notice, there's a striation right through here. Sorry about the mic. This is a quartz line that comes through. To me, it looks like a lightning bolt that is struck through near this little girl. And it's not easy. We were worried about the question mark at the end of it, how it was going to show up. But the man that did that did a great job. I think it's very appropriate. I think it's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And thank you all very much.
Wow.